G'day there team, welcome to my workshop for Foster and Boys knives. So today I'm going to be designing a butcher's knife. I've had many requests for a butcher's knife, so in my range at the moment I have this drop point Hunter Skinner, which is quite a beefy knife, but I'm looking for something with a little bit more length and a rounder belly. So yeah, I hope you get something out of this video. I'm just going to be walking you through the process of designing the knife all the way through to making the sheath, so hope you enjoy. This is what I've come up with. I think it'll go good. It's got a nice long sweeping belly. I'm going to use 440C stainless steel. It's a full tang knife, and it'll have a New Zealand native timber black mere, which is the same as this knife here, and it'll also have the brass and black G10 liners. But I've got a nice stag head mosaic pin, and I'll use brass Corby bolts to finish it off. So once I cut out the template, I just trace it onto the steel blank and cut it out with the old angle grinder. The next step after cutting out the blank, I used a hand file to give me a nice flat surface to scribe a line in, so I know where to grind my bevels to. So I'm looking for a slightly convex grind to give the knife some strength, and I've made this file guide to give me nice and accurate plunge lines on both sides. So yeah, let's get to the grinding. So I use a Tuber 48 belt grinder. It's a noob made by Gamico in Australia. It's a good little machine. I highly recommend it. It's a variable speed drive, and yeah, top notch. So I usually start with getting my grind down to the thickness I want at the edge, which is about 1.5mm before heat treat. And then once I've established that, I bring the grind up to meet this black line, and I'll just blend it in and give it a nice convex finish. So that was a success. My convex bevel's roughed in, so now I can look at drilling out my pinholes and my weight reduction holes. So my holes are in, the knife's well balanced, and the next step is to file in the choil just with the chainsaw sharpening file, and then we're onto the heat treat. I like to, if I can, get all the material moved on the knife that I need to before the heat treat, because if you wait until the steel's hard, obviously you're fighting an uphill battle. So while the knife's cooking, I'll give you a rundown of what's happening inside. So the temperature is going to get up to 1870 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's going to sit there for 15 minutes, and the steel's going to soak at that temperature. And then I'm going to bring it out and quench it in a fast quenching oil, and that's going to turn the steel from an austenite state to a martensite state, and that's what we need for the hardness, so the knife will hold an edge. And then once it's in the martensite state, it's really brittle, so we've got to temper it, and we temper it at 150 degrees Celsius, which is 300 degrees Fahrenheit, for an hour, and we do that twice, and that just gives the steel some toughness. I'm by no means an expert, but this is a formula that's worked for me in the past, so fingers and toes crossed that it works, and we have a good hard butcher's knife at the end of it. So the heat treat was a success, skating a file quite well. We ended up with a little warp just at the tip, but I think we'll be able to grind that out, no problem. So this knife, I've decided it's going to be a giveaway knife at a local hunting competition called the North Otago Boar and Stag Muster. So if you're watching this after you've won the knife, congratulations, I hope you get a lot of use out of it. So the next step's going to be, I'm going to clean it up with the wire brush just to take some of the scale off, and then we can chuck it in the temper oven. So I've cleaned up all the scale that was left from the heat treat, and I've grinded out the small warp it had, and I've brought my edge thickness down to where it needs to be. So now I can get on to my favourite part, and it's hand sanding. It's not really, but I like the end result. You get out what you put in with hand sanding, and there's more than one way to skin a cat with hand sanding. So I start at 80 grit and take out all the grind lines that are left from the belt grinder, and then work my way up to between 1200 and 2000 grit, and yeah, so I might as well crack into it. So all the hand sanding's been done. It was character building, it took me about 5 hours, but it's looking good. I think it's worthwhile. So now what we're going to do is electro etch my maker's mark into the steel. Finally at the business end of the knife build, and that's gluing my scales on. So I prepared these earlier. I've got my brass sheet and my black G10 glued to the wood, and now it's just a case of drilling out my pinholes, my main pinhole and the Corby bolt holes. Now I've decided to change my mosaic pin from a stag to a boar. I think it'll suit the knife a lot better, and I'm going to use these Corby bolts are really good, just because they give a mechanical fastening. So I'm pretty happy with how the glue up went. I've let the epoxy cure overnight. Everything looks good. So now it's just a case of shaping the handle scales on the belt grinder, and I'll do some work with a file just to get the contours right and sand it up, and she's good to go. Then it's just a case of putting an edge on it and making the sheath. And I finished the front portion of the scales before I glue the handles on, just so I don't risk damaging all the work I put into hand sanding, because that would be a shame. So yeah, almost finished. I reckon we're just about done here. Now onto my favourite part, oiling the handle. We're on to the home stretch with the knife build. The knife's 98.5% complete. I just need to put an edge on it, but I'll leave that till last, because naturally as a knife maker, the last thing you want to do is cut yourself. It does happen, but it's all part of the game. The next thing is to make the sheath. So I'm used to making spine folders similar to this here, but I think with this knife I'd like to do something a little bit different. I'm thinking something where the blade can slip into nice and neatly with the handle exposed, and then having a retention strap. I'm sure there's a name for it, but I'm no expert. So yeah, let's crack into it. Pattern out. Next thing to do is to dye the thing. I think I'm going to go with black. It's also Patch's favourite colour. I think it'll match the black in the mosaic pin and the G10 liner. It'll make the handle really hot. And then once I've dyed the thing, I'll stitch on my retention strap. And but as I say, I'm no expert on this type of sheath, but I guess you don't know what you don't know, but I think it'll work. let's get into it. The next step is to waterproof the interior of the sheaths, and I'll use this Feebings tan coat. And then I'll glue my welt that I've cut out to the inside of the sheath. So the welt protects the stitching from the blade itself, and it provides a pocket for the blade to sit in. Now, I'm no surgeon, but I think I can stitch this thing together so it'll last someone a lifetime. Well, that's the aim anyway. Let's do it. So we're all done. If you've made it along this far, thanks very much for watching. If you like the knife and like to see more of my other projects, you can follow me on Instagram. So just one last thing we need to do before we finish up, and let's see if it'll cut. I'm happy with that. Thanks for watching.